Now let's go to the pathway of the aqueous humor. First, the aqueous humor is produced from the ciliary process of the ciliary body. It enters into the anterior chamber through pupil. From anterior chamber, it goes to the iridocorneal junction. From iridocorneal junction, it drains out from the trabecular meshwork. From trabecular meshwork, it goes to the Schlemm canal. From there, the aqueous humor is sent to the collector channels. From there, it goes to the episcleral veins and then joins the systemic circulation. And this pathway, we call it as the conventional pathway. That means around 90% of the aqueous humor will drain out from the trabecular meshwork to the Schlemm canal, collectoral channel, episcleral veins. So the drainage pathway is mainly of two types. One is trabecular meshwork pathway and other is through uveoscleral pathway. So 90% of the aqueous humor drains out through this pathway only. This pathway we also call it as the conventional pathway. Remaining 10 to 15% aqueous humor drains from this pathway, uveoscleral pathway. So what happens, normally the aqueous humor is produced in the anterior chamber. It reaches to the iridocorneal junction. When it reaches to the iridocorneal junction, in this pathway, it goes to the trabecular meshwork. From there it goes to the canal of Schlemm. From there it goes to collectoral channels and then to the episcleral veins. Whereas here, first it goes to the, it doesn't go to the trabecular meshwork. From the iridocorneal junction, it goes to the roots of iris. From there it goes to the ciliary muscles, there to suprachoroidal space, and then it is absorbed by the scleral vessels. Here you will have the suprachoroidal space. From there it reaches to the scleral vessels. Yeah, this is how your eye looks like. So this is nothing but the ciliary body. From these projections only the aqueous humor is produced. So mainly you need to remember is you will have two chambers here. From back of the iris to front of the lens, we call it as the posterior chamber. From front of the iris to back of the cornea, we call it as the anterior chamber. So where is the first aqueous humor is produced? It is produced from the ciliary body. So from the ciliary process of the ciliary body, aqueous humor is produced. So slowly from the posterior chamber, it enters into the anterior chamber. What is this gap called? It is nothing but the pupil. So through the pupil, it enters into the anterior chamber, and where the cornea and iris meet, we call it as the iridocorneal junction. Here, when it reaches the iridocorneal junction, you will have the meshwork kind of thing. We call it as the trabecular meshwork. From there, it goes to the Schlemm canal. This Schlemm canal is nothing but the ring-like structure. Okay. From there, it enters into the, you will have the collectoral channels here, and then it enters into the episcleral veins. Okay. So 90% of the aqueous humor drains out through the trabecular meshwork, Schlemm canal, collectoral channels, and then it goes to the episcleral veins. Remaining 10% of the fluid, when it reaches the iridocorneal junction, it goes to the ciliary muscles through the roots of the iris. From there it reaches to the ciliary muscle. From there it reaches to the suprachoroidal space, which is nothing but the space between the choroid and sclera. From there it reaches to the veins of the sclera and orbit. Okay, 90% of the drainage goes through the trabecular meshwork and 10% of the drainage goes through the ciliary muscles, suprachoroidal space, and to the veins of the sclera and orbit. Okay, and most of the pressure is dependent on the trabecular meshwork only. Okay, this channel, whatever we are calling as the unconventional pathway, that is less dependent on the pressure. Most of the pressure is dependent on the trabecular meshwork pathway only. So 10% of the drainage will take place here, 90% of the aqueous humor drainage will take place here. So circulation will be same. Drainage will be from the trabecular meshwork and from the roots of the iris. So when there is a blockage in the trabecular meshwork, there won't be proper drainage of the aqueous humor. As a result, IOP, intraocular pressure, increases and leads to glaucoma. Why is this channel important is like, whenever there is a blockage, say for example there is a blockage in the trabecular meshwork, with the help of some medicines like prostaglandins and all, what they do is like it increases the drainage of the aqueous humor. From where it increases, then it takes the alternate pathway. This is the alternate pathway. So through this pathway, with the help of the prostaglandins, aqueous humor will be drained out. In order to keep the aqueous humor clean, there is another system present in the eye. Okay, that we call it as the phagocytic cell. The main function of the phagocytic cells is it flushes out the cellular debris, RBCs, WBCs, to keep the aqueous humor transparent and clean. So where are these phagocytic cells present? These phagocytic cells are present on the trabecular meshwork, Schlemm canal and iris epithelium. In trabecular meshwork, it is present on the plates of the trabecular meshwork, and in Schlemm canal, you'll have a special type of gel around the Schlemm canal. This gel is called as the interstitium, which is rich in phagocytic, and it also present in the iris epithelium. So the main job of these phagocytic cells is to keep the aqueous humor clean. In some cases, what happens? The epithelium of the ciliary body will get disturbed. Okay. So what happens? The proteins which are present in the ciliary body will enter into the aqueous humor. As a result, aqueous humor may get disturbed. Okay, when there is a proteins, what happens? The transparency of the aqueous humor will get disturbed. There will be a problem in the aqueous drainage. As a result, it leads to increase in the glaucoma. Normally, these phagocytic cells which are present in the trabecular meshwork, Schlemm canal or root or iris epithelium keep the aqueous humor clean. It flushes out the minor amount of cells or impurities or WBCs, RBCs which is present in the aqueous humor. It drains out, but not in severe cases. In severe cases means in some cases what happens? The epithelium of the ciliary body will get disturbed. As a result, the proteins from the stroma of the ciliary body will enter into the aqueous humor, and as a result, the aqueous humor will not drain. There will be a blockage near the trabecular meshwork because of the proteins and the cellular debris. As a result, IOP increases and it leads to glaucoma. Whenever we talk about the increase in the intraocular pressure, mainly we say that there will be a damage in the optic nerve. Why does it happen? When the pressure increases, here you will have the ganglionic cells, right? When the pressure increases, the pressure will be more on the ganglionic cell. As a result, there will be the degeneration on the ganglionic cell. All the axons of the ganglionic cells will only form the optic nerve, right? The pressure on the ganglionic cells increases. As a result, there will be a degeneration of the optic nerve fibers. As a result, what happens? It leads to optic neuritis. As a result, there will be a deepening of the cup of the optic nerve. That's the reason why you will see the cup disc ratio difference. This is all about the aqueous humor pathway, aqueous production and all. Hope this is clearer to you. If at all, if you find this class useful, please like, share and subscribe. See you in the next class.